All right, I'll call this meeting of Senate Finance to order. We have a quorum here, and so we'll get started. And could you call the roll, please?
Senator Dennis. Here. Senator Kieckeffer. Senator Goycochea. Senator Hammond. Here. Senator Ratty. Senator Severs-Gansert. Senator Cannizzaro. Senator Dondero Loop. Chair Brooks.
Here, and Senator Kieckeffer is excused, and the rest of them, please mark them present as they arrive. We've got staggered meetings here, so I think we're trying to get everything going. So we're going to take this completely out of order, and we will start with Senate Bill 205, which provides regulatory exemptions for certain types of residential and commercial boilers. We have Senator Dennis here to present his bill. And Mr. Thorley, if you could walk us through the issues associated with Senate Bill 205.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. The Division of Industrial Relations submitted a fiscal note on Senate Bill 205 as introduced, indicating the bill would exempt approximately 25% of the boilers currently regulated by the division, resulting in a 25% decrease in operating permit revenue for the agency. On April 16th, the Senate adopted Amendment 452 to Senate Bill 205. After the amendment was adopted, the Division of Industrial Relations submitted an unsolicited fiscal note indicating the estimated fiscal impact has been reduced to a 10% decrease in operating permit revenue for the agency, which is estimated at $41,000 in FY22 and approximately $48,000 in FY23. Victoria Carrion from the Division of Industrial Relations is, I believe, I see her online, available to provide testimony on the agency's fiscal note if needed.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Senator Dennis, if you just want to describe the bill and what it does and some of the history behind it, please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Mo Dennis, represents Senate District 2. Thank you for the opportunity to present SB 205, which addresses an oversight. I'm going to move this only because I don't think you can hear me. Addresses an oversight that occurred when emergency regulations were adopted last year by the Division of Industrial Relations of the Department of Business and Industry. Issue is relatively simple. In adopting regulations related to boilers, the division exempted certain gas-fired residential and commercial tank water heaters, but unintentionally failed to exempt similar tankless water heaters. The result is that tankless water heaters are now subject to significantly more onerous regulations than similar tanked heaters that are more stringent than necessary to ensure public safety. The goal of this bill is to seek parity in statutory regulation of tank and tankless water heaters so that this type of regulatory error is not repeated in the future. We worked with the Division of Industrial Relations, and I'm proposing I think an amendment to clarify the intent of the bill. I think that was referenced earlier, because I'm reading my old notes here. I'd also like to, I've got Warren Hardy available to also help with any answers, and I believe we have another gentleman that could help answer questions as part of from the regulatory. But the main reason we brought it was just to try to fix what happened through the emergency regulations that were brought forward.
Thank you, Senator Dennis. And did you want Mr. Hardy to present, or just there to ask questions? Or answer questions, excuse me.
I think if I missed anything, I may have missed some that he may want to follow up
okay.
on.
Mr. Hardy, do you have anything further to add to that before we turn it over for questions?
Yes, thank you, Senator. Warren Hardy, representing Renai America Corporation. Senator Dennis did a good job. I think the confusion may have been on the fiscal note. So what happened in the emergency measure? So you recall the explosion that happened at the University of Nevada, Reno. The governor asked to implement emergency measures to increase the regulatory scheme on boilers. And the distinction here is between boilers and water heaters. So what happened inadvertently in that regulation is that Well, let me back up. So the regulation was designed to provide more stringent regulatory oversight of boilers. Inadvertently, that emergency regulation brought water heaters, smaller water heaters, into the regulation for boilers. In order to correct that, DIR proposed a change and an exemption to exempt out smaller water heaters as defined in the bill. Unfortunately, what happened is the legislation or the amendment as it was drafted in the emergency regulation applies only to to tanked water heaters and not to tankless water heaters that have exactly the same applications. What's at question here is what the concern of the agency is, and obviously let them speak for themselves, is that they're concerned about the in-series installation of these smaller water heaters, which are allowed by code, which are allowed by local government regulation. So all we're trying to accomplish in this legislation is to bring parity to tanked and tankless heaters so they can continue to perform on an equal footing in the marketplace. The agency they believe they should regulate these as boilers. And this legislation doesn't address that. But in order to address their concerns, we put specific direction in the legislation for the division to adopt regulations if they believe that's appropriate. That will treat these water heaters, exactly the same as every other water heater. So that's all we're trying to accomplish here, Mr. Chairman. I understand today that they do, in fact, regulate in series tankless water heaters as boilers, which from our perspective only makes the matter worse. So I'm not here to dispute the fiscal note. I think this legislation likely does reduce their operating costs on that. What I'm here to say and what the legislation here is here to do is to say, whatever we do in regulation going forward, they need to treat these exactly similar components the same in statute and regulation. So that's what it attempts to do. I hope I didn't make it more confusing, Mr. Chair, but in reality, a fairly simple bill.
I can't speak for the rest of the committee, but in my opinion, you did. So I'm going to try to back out of that and see if I can make sense of this. So the fiscal note from the agency is based upon their current structure and what they're currently looking at from a emergency regulation standpoint on what needs to be regulated and inspected. And the bill as reprinted changes some of that, but not all of that, because it appears to me as if serial interconnection of multiple water heaters still wouldn't be considered water heater by the definition of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Warren Hardy, Renai American Corporation. Unfortunately, we actually have another amendment to offer because the amendment that was adopted does not address the intent of the committee or the sponsor of the bill or my client. So it's a little more confusing because there needs to be an additional amendment to clarify which would be inspected as boilers and which would not. The amendment is drafted now, does not do that. The amendment is as drafted continues the problem that we're trying to correct. So it's confusing, unfortunately, but I know I have Jordan Cranebowl from the PHCC who's on the phone and is really better explaining this than I am. But if I can just quickly, so the intent is you have boilers, and the intent of the emergency regulation was to regulate boilers at a much more stringent level. I think everybody thinks that's appropriate. However, in adopting the emergency regulation, so I just remind you, it was an emergency regulation, so there wasn't the normal opportunity for input from the industry. And when that regulation was adopted, it brought in these smaller water heaters installed in series under the regulation as a boiler. Nowhere else in the country do we regulate at the state level except the state of Massachusetts. Nowhere else do they regulate these smaller water heaters in series as boilers. The local codes take care of it. The local ordinances take care of it. We got testimony and letters from the local governments indicating that they believe that's sufficient. However, I don't want to take away from DIR if they believe it's important that they regulate those as boilers. So we put language in the bill that will allow them to go implement or promulgate a regulation with the full input or regular regulation if they see fit.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hardy. And maybe before we go to questions, we can hear from the agency. I think we have Ms. Carrion on the line, and we can hear from her on their fiscal note as it applies to the bill that is reprinted that we have in front of us.
Mr. Chair, Victoria Carrion for the record. I'm the administrator at the Division of Industrial Relations. So the bill as reprinted does have a fiscal impact on the division in that it reduces our revenue by approximately $41,000 in the first year of the biennium and about $48,000 in the second year of the biennium. That reduction in revenue is in our workers' compensation and safety fund, so there's no impact on the general fund. And the bill as reprinted does, I believe, provide the parity that was mentioned in the earlier testimony between the tankless water heaters and the tanked water heaters, and would allow us to continue to require permitting of those water heaters that are installed in a series. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm assuming if you didn't have to inspect these, regulate these, there would be a reduction in your workload and therefore your costs. Is that fair to say?
There would be a reduction in our revenue. There would be a small reduction in our workload, but mostly there would just be a reduction in our revenue because the ongoing inspections of these water heaters are actually done by third parties, not by our office.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions for Senator Dennis or Mr. Hardy or Ms. Carrion? Senator Sievers-Gansert?
Thank you, Chair Brooks. Since you're contracting out this work, can you not just reduce the contract? Is it on a per boiler basis, or it seems like you may have more flexibility if they're not state employees, if you're using contractors to do the work, so.
Thank you, Victoria Carrion, for the record, through you, Chair, to Senator Gansert. So we don't contract out the work. The work is done by third parties, and they do the inspections that are required every 2 years. So it's not a contract that we pay. It's actually just an independent activity. And then the permit fees come to the state. The state is responsible for initial inspections when these water heaters and boilers are initially installed. I hope that helps answer your question.
Thank you. I don't quite understand that. So there's a third party. So how does the third party get paid for the work? Or are they paid directly by whoever's having the inspection done, and then that's turned into you?
Thank you. For the record, Victoria Carrion, Administrator of Division of Industrial Relations. So yes, the clients, the owners of these devices are the ones who pay the third parties for the inspections, and then the permitting fee does come to the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Senator Ratty?
Yeah, I do think I just need a little bit of clarity because the conversation has changed pretty significantly from the conversation that we had in the policy committee on this issue. And so in the policy committee, the testimony was that the division did not regulate these now and that it was left to local building code and that it was only because of the emergency regulation that this regulation started. But I just want to make sure that that is very different from the testimony that we are hearing today. So whoever can answer the question, the testimony I think was in the Health and Human Services Committee was that Massachusetts was the only state that regulates these, but does it turn out that it is Massachusetts and Nevada are the only two states that regulate in series water heaters like boilers?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if I may, Warren Hardy with Renai American Corporation. So that is confusing, and I will apologize to Chair Ratty, because I was under the impression at the time that they did not. I just learned today that they do regulate, apparently they regulate in series, not regulate, but permit in series. And the difference is, and what we're trying to resolve here is, because of the emergency regulation, they do not regulate or permit the installation of in-series tanked heaters. But this emergency regulation gives them the ability to regulate in-series tankless heaters. And the confusion is the interpretation, and that's what got me confused, Chair Ratty, through you, Senator, because my understanding was that neither were regulated, because the industry does not agree with that interpretation, that the current regulation gives them the ability to regulate the installation of in-series, either type of in-series. So I apologize for that confusion, and I just learned that this evening in my conversation with Jordan from PHCC, who's on the line. But that was my understanding as well. But now, as it stands, they are able to regulate, because of the regulation, tankless water heaters, but not tanked heaters. So we're trying to bring that on parity.
So then to follow up, these tankless water heaters that are in series, you have to get a permit from the state, but is the testimony that we heard in HHS still the same, that you also would have to get a permit and have an inspection at the local government level in accordance with the international building codes?
That's my understanding, Mr. Chairman.
So for this particular item, they have to get a permit locally and an inspection locally, and then a permit, and then pay a third party to get a state inspection as well? Is that correct?
That's my understanding. I'd be happy to refer to the director.
Mr. Chair, Victoria Carrion for the record, Division of Industrial Relations, just to help clarify how that works. So at the local level, they do require an initial permit, as does the state. However, the ongoing operating permit is only required by the state. And we feel that that is a good practice in terms of public safety to ensure that these devices are in good working condition on an ongoing basis. Thank you.
Okay, so said differently, the installation is in the purview of the local government and the ongoing operation is in the purview of the state?
Victoria Carrion for the record, the state does both the initial and the ongoing operating permits, and the local government does the initial permits. Thank you.
But Mr. Chairman and Senator Ratty, I would just add that whether or not the state has the statutory and regulatory authority to permit these is in dispute in the industry. And the reason for the bill still stands, and that is that it applies to tankless water heaters, but not to tanked water heaters. The emergency measure eliminates tanked water heaters from the overview or purview of the state, but not tankless heaters. Now, I know there's been an indication from the division that they don't install tanked water heaters in series, but in fact they do. There's instructions on how to do it. It's permitted by code. It happens at restaurants and homes for redundancy. So that's really what we're trying to resolve here. We're trying to stay out of the question as to whether it's appropriate for them to do it. If they want to do it, they should hold a regulatory process and promulgate a regulation so that everybody's treated equally. As it stands today, the state requires a permit for the installation of tankless water heaters, but not for tanked water heaters, per the emergency regulation. And that's the inequity we're trying to resolve.
Okay, now I understand. But this bill doesn't do that.
Correct. It does not.
All right.
That's why we need the additional.
So even if, so currently this bill eliminates some of the tankless water heaters that the division would then permit and have ongoing inspections on. Is that correct, Ms. Carrion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, for the record, Victoria Carrion. So what this bill actually does in the reprint is it exempts the installation of single water heaters. So those would be either if they are tanked or tankless, but it would require still permitting of water heaters installed in series, regardless of whether they have tanks or not. So in our mind, this is actually providing the parity that was initially intended in the bill.
Got it. So currently, a tanked water heater in series is treated the same as a tankless water heater in series in the eyes of the division?
Yes, that is correct. Victoria Carrion for the record.
Got it. All right. So getting back to the fiscal note is that as we reduce the amount of water heaters that are subject to the jurisdiction of the division, the fees go down, and the majority of the fees go to a third-party contractor that does the inspection, but some of the fees stay with the division as a permit. Is that correct?
Victoria Carrion for the record. So the revenue impact is the permit fees reduction. The other fees that in terms of the cost of the actual inspection, that's a cost between the owner of the object and the inspector. So that doesn't have anything to do with any state revenue.
And the permit fees have no bearing on general fund. They are from your operating revenues that they go. It would be an offset towards the I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but the other fee revenue stream that you have that isn't general fund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Victoria Carrion for the record. So yes, the decrease in revenue would come out of the Workers' Compensation and Safety Fund, which funds our agency and several others that deal with workers' compensation issues. So there's no general fund impact.
Got it. And if an amendment that should happen in a policy committee or on the floor, because it changes the policy of this, that would theoretically just make that fiscal note even bigger. Is that correct?
Victoria Carrion for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, if there were additional water heaters to be exempted from permitting, that would increase the size of the fiscal note.
I think I finally understand. Senator Severs-Gansert?
Thank you, Chair Brooks. So just a question about the permitting. Since permitting is done at a local level, did the permitting at a state level for the tankless and the regular tank water heaters start because of the emergency regulations? So has this not been like a 10-year, 20-year income stream? This has been recent because of the emergency regulations?
Victoria Carrion for the record, through you, Mr. Chair, to Senator Gansert. So this is a long-standing requirement. So these have always been regulated by the Division of Industrial Relations. It is not a new requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Ratty?
I'm sorry, but so what I'm not understanding is that if the fiscal note is on the bill as printed, and the bill as printed, and I think what you said, Ms. Carrion, is that the bill as printed only includes those tankless or tanked water heaters that are not in series, which provides parity. And I thought I heard you say you only have to permit them if they are in series. But are you saying that the Division of Industrial Relations, its standard practice has been to permit any water heater?
Victoria Carrion for the record. Thank you for the question through you, Mr. Chair, to Senator Ratty. So the Division of Industrial Relations does not permit any residential water heaters. We were only permitting commercial water heaters. The emergency regulation provided an exemption of certain smaller water heaters, but it was only those that had tanks. And so I think the intent of the bill was to create parity between the tankless and the tanked water heaters. And so I think as the reprint is currently drafted, it actually does achieve that.
So then would you be in support of, because you approved the exemption of tanked water heaters in the emergency regulation, you would be in support of removing the need to permit the tankless?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Senator Ratty, Victoria Carrion for the record. So yes, our division is fine with the idea of having the parity between the single installations of the tanked and the tankless water heaters. And the way this bill is written now, the only ones that would be requiring permits would be those that are installed in a series.
Okay, so the income that you would be losing is the permitting that you would be doing only on the ones that aren't in series? And you're okay with that?
Victoria Carrion for the record. Yes, that is correct.
Any further questions from the committee for either the division or Senator Dennis? All right, I think we have I think we got it. So with that, I will see if we have anyone in the audience in support. Oh, it doesn't look like we have anyone in the audience on this bill. So if we could go to the phone lines and see if we have anyone in support of Senate Bill 205.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. To testify in support on Senate Bill 205, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 417. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good evening. My name is Jordan Cranebuhl, JORDANKRAHENBUHL. I am the Executive Director for the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors Association of Nevada. Before this, I was 30 years plus for Clark County Building Department, most of that time as the lead plumbing and mechanical person. I've been involved in local and national code writing for the Uniform Plumbing Code and Uniform Mechanical Code for almost 30 years. I think what's important, I'm in support of the bill as amended, but what's important that I think is getting missed here is the Uniform Mechanical Code section 1001 clearly defines what is a boiler and what is a water heater. It's 120 gallons, 200,000 BTUs, and 160 pounds force. That is the threshold that manufacturers have used for years. They manufacture it just underneath that so that they are a water heater and they are not a boiler by definition by the code. So if you look in section 1001 of the Uniform Mechanical Code and section 1001 of the Southern Nevada Amendments, it clearly defines what is a boiler and what is a water heater. Whether they're piped simultaneously or in series makes absolutely zero difference. It's still a water heater, an individual water heater. They just put multiple ones in. And they are, I promise you, because I did lots of them, they are permitted and inspected by the local jurisdictions. They are required to be by code. So whether they're in series or not, they're still a water heater by code, by what's adopted by the state and by local jurisdictions. Thank you very much for your time.
We are currently on support testimony on Senate Bill 205. If you have joined the call and would like to provide public testimony in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no additional callers at this time in support.
Thank you. Do we have anyone in opposition?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 205, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone in neutral?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 205, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support at this time, in neutral at this time.
Thank you. So I think that brings our hearing on Senate Bill 205 to an end, unless you have any final comments, Senator Dennis? Thank you, sir. All right, so we will close that hearing, and we will open up. Sorry, I'm a little out of order here. I'm trying to help people get out of here we'll start with, but go back into order of Senate Bill 24, and open the hearing on Senate Bill 24. And that comes out of Senate Committee on Revenue and Economic Development on behalf of the Governor's Office of Economic Development. And Senator Neal, will you be presenting this, or go ahead, Will? Okay, great. But Mr. Thorley, will you summarize the issue?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal. There is no direct fiscal impact from this bill. You won't see any fiscal notes in Nellis. However, I would call the committee's attention to Section 4 of the bill, which allows interest to be collected on the unexpended general fund appropriations in the Workforce Innovations for a New Nevada account. Since appropriations are not cash, allowing interest to be collected on appropriations will negatively impact the general fund. In discussions with the Treasurer's Office, they've indicated that allowing interest to be collected on the general fund appropriations is not a best practice. They are working on estimates, the potential general fund impact for this bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So could we have Go-Ed? And it looks like we have, I see Mr. Potts and Mr. Hum and Ms. Boswick from Go-Ed that might be available to walk us through the bill briefly and try to address those issues that Mr. Thorley just talked about on the interest.
Yes, good evening, Chair Brooks. For the record, my name is Bob Potts. I'm the Deputy Director in the Governor's Office of Economic Development. It's great to be here with you and the rest of the committee here. Our Executive Director, Michael Brown, sends his apologies. He would have liked to have been here as well, but he was indisposed, couldn't make it. So joining me to discuss Senate Bill 24 are James Hunn, our Director of Compliance and Regulatory Affairs, and Stacy Bostwick, who is our Director of Workforce Development and knows all things workforce innovation for New Nevada. Stacy is our subject matter specialist, and she will be commenting on this. You know, we're happy to go through the entire bill if you'd like to do that, or go directly to the question at hand per your discretion, Chair Brooks.
No, that's okay. We can just briefly summarize what the bill does, and then and really hit on the issue with the interest collected.
Very good. I'll turn it over then to Ms. Boswick. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Potts. Chairman Brooks, Senate Committee on Finance, thank you so much. Just in brief, we brought SB 24 forward really with the focus on expanding skills-based economy. This is an industry-driven partnership, as many of you know, that is intended to close workforce infrastructure gaps. And so the efforts here are mostly cleanup around kind of our best practices and lessons learned. Relative to the question from Mr. Thorley on interest, that is, I think, language that was actually placed in there either by the Budget Office or the Treasurer's Office. So we're not married to that. We're absolutely open to a discussion on that piece. The aspect I think that's probably the most critical for us relative to the fiscal section, Section 4, is actually removing the reversion language and not on the interest-bearing account.
Thank you.
Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the committee members have any questions on Senate Bill 24? All right. Now, on section 4, sub 4, where it talks about after deducting any applicable charges, any interest or income earned on money in the account, including without limitation, unexpended appropriations made to the account from the state general fund must be credited to the account. When you were drafting this bill or requesting this bill to be drafted, are you saying that you feel GFO or the treasurer's office made the suggestion to put that in there?
Chair, that's correct. That was not language specifically that we proposed. That particular, I guess, ask was relative to removing the reversion. So that template language was added during that kind of process when it goes up to the governor's office.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions for Go Ahead? Senator Severs-Gansert?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So GoEd was created differently than a lot of different numerous entities that we have and agencies. And I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly or not, but section 4, number 5, looks like that language was already in there as far as the interest being credited to the account. The difference is they said you could deduct applicable charges and then let it be applied to that account. So it looks like because it was created differently, that may have been established language, but then they added, the other piece. So 4 and 5, but I'm not 100% sure. And I don't know if Fiscal knows. It was kind of a different body, so they have workers who are not classified, and their monies typically don't revert, like the Knowledge Fund doesn't revert, and so this may be set up differently than a lot of others. Not that it can't be changed, but that language, I think, was, for the most part, there before this bill came forward.
So Senator Severs-Gansert, Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal. So you are correct. The employees in GoEd are generally non-classified or unclassified. In talking with the Treasurer's Office today, they are researching a few things related specifically to Section 4 and subsection 4 of the language here, and we'll be providing staff some suggestions for possible changes to this.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Any questions from the committee? I would, so I would urge Go Ahead, the team, to get together with our fiscal staff and the treasurer's office and see if an amendment is needed to change that one sentence right there, and we will be back in touch. So with no other questions, I'll go to the phones and see if we have anyone who's on the line who called in support of Senate Bill 24.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support on Senate Bill 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 462. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good evening, Chair Brooks, Vice Chair Dennis, and committee members. For the record, my name is Joshua Levitt, and that's spelled Joshua Leavitt, and I'm representing the Society for Information Management Las Vegas chapter, which is an organization comprised of CIOs, industry leaders, educators, and entrepreneurs throughout Southern Nevada. In addition to providing an exchange of ideas, we strive to provide advocacy for important issues and bring a wide variety of strategic forecasting and technology expertise to serve the state of Nevada. On behalf of the STEM Las Vegas membership, I'm testifying in show of support for Senate Bill 24. We believe workforce development training is vital to the diversification of Nevada's economy and builds opportunities for Nevadans to learn modern, high-demand skills for high-wage jobs here. We appreciate the language of Senate Bill 24. Believe me, it cleans up, clarifies, and streamlines our current law to better ensure that recruitment, assessment, and training programs funded through the Workforce Innovation for New Nevada aligns with workforce demands and ensures that Nevada receives credentials valuable to the job market. I appreciate your time and urge you to vote in support for SB 24. Thank you.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 938. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good evening, Chair Brooks, Vice Chair Dennis, and members of the Senate Finance Committee. For the record, my name is Ariel Edwards, ARIELLEEDWARDS, with the City of North Las Vegas. We are in support of this measure and urge its support and passage. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 150. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, good evening, Chair Brooks and members of the committee. My name is Patty Charlton, Patty. Last name Charlton, CHARLTON. I'm the Vice President and Provost of the Henderson campus of the College of Southern Nevada. On behalf of the college, we are in support of SB 224 and in specifically around business, industry, and education. The WIN funds allow us to establish and scale workforce training programs for high-demand industries such as manufacturing, healthcare, information technology, distribution, logistics, skilled trades, and all of the other components of the workforce for an innovative new Nevada. WIN funds are essential to meeting the training needs of a ready and qualified workforce. We want to thank the Governor's Office of Economic Development, Mr. Potts for his testimony today, and Ms. Boswick for their continued efforts in advancing SB 24 through the committee this evening. Thank you for your time.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 114. Please press *6 to unmute. Thank you, caller with the last 3 digits, 114. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Greetings, Chair and members of the committee. Amber Stidham, that's STIDHAM, with the Henderson Chamber of Commerce. Our chamber is also pleased to support this proposal. Overall, it provides a solid tool to aid in the diversification of our state's workforce, which has also been a primary focus of our Henderson Development Association mission and work over the last 15 years. I also want to say that we also appreciate GoEd for their outreach to our chamber on this clarification bill and also encourage and urge your support. Thank you.
We are currently on support testimony on Senate Bill 24. If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on the line in opposition to Senate Bill 24?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on the line in neutral on Senate Bill 24?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 24, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in in neutral at this time.
Thank you. So that wraps up our hearing on Senate Bill 24, and we can move to our next item. And I just wanted to thank Mr. Potts and Ms. Boswick and Mr. Hum from GoEd for joining us this evening and answering our questions. Appreciate it. And so we'll wrap up hearing on Senate Bill 24 and move to the hearing on Senate Bill 158. And that came from the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services on behalf of the Legislative Committee on Child Welfare and Juvenile Justice. And we have Senator Orenshaw and Bailey Bordeling and to present that. But before we get started, Mr. Thorley, could you walk us through a summary of the fiscal issue?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Wayne Thorley for the record, LCV Fiscal. The Division of Child and Family Services submitted a fiscal note on the bill as introduced, indicating that the bill would result in the loss of approximately $880,000 in federal funds each year. However, after the Senate adopted Amendment 445 to Senate Bill 158, DCFS submitted an unsolicited fiscal note indicating that the amendment to the bill eliminates the fiscal impact on the agency. And I believe there are representatives, Catherine Roos from DCFS, to provide testimony if necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. And Senator Orenshaw, if you just want to briefly tell us what the bill does, but really we just want to confirm with the agency that the amended version of the bill removes that fiscal note.
Good evening, Chair Brooks, members of the Senate Finance Committee. For the record, James Orenshaw, Senate 21. This is one of our recommendations from the Interim Committee on Child Welfare and Juvenile Justice. This would make a small change to Nevada statutes that would help children in foster care be placed with relatives and to have subsidies that come from federal funding from those Title IV funds from the 2008 Federal Act, try to support that living arrangement. Whereas there was a little problem in Nevada statute that prohibited that, and this matches up with the federal law, and I think will help more kids be able to be placed with relatives and hopefully be successful. There's a lot of data that shows that kids who can be placed with relatives when they're in that foster care situation usually do a lot better. So I think that this will remove a barrier that was just a quirk of our Nevada statutes that prevented some of those possible familial placements from getting the subsidy and getting the support that often would help it succeed and help the placement succeed and the family be able to care for that child versus another foster placement where it might be with a stranger. With your permission, Chair, I've got Bailey Bortolin here, and she worked tirelessly with Bridget Duffy, Ross Armstrong, Dr. Roos, Amy Honadell from Legal Aid, trying to come up with the amendment to get the bill right. So I want to thank all the partners and stakeholders who worked on this, because we thought we had it right when it came out of the committee and needed a little fixing. And Senator Ratty and Senate Health who gave us that time to fix it. With your permission, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Bortolin, the others, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Orenshaw. Please, Ms. Bortolin, go ahead.
Thank you, Bailey Bortolin, for the record, representing the Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers. I will just very quickly say that this bill matches the federal funding language. So the program that we are referring to in child welfare is federally funded, but the Nevada statutes were being read to be more strict in access to that federal funding than the federal funding language required. So this now mirrors it to ensure that every Nevada family that's eligible is able to receive that federal funding.
Thank you. And before I go to the agency to confirm the fiscal note, does the committee have any questions for Senator Orenshaw or for Ms. Bortolin? All right, thank you. Appreciate that. I think we have Ms. Roos on the line who could talk to us about the fiscal note associated with, or the lack thereof, associated with the amended version of this bill.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Brooks and Senate Finance. Catherine Roos, Deputy Administrator for the Division of Child and Family Services. And I can confirm that we have removed our fiscal note with the amended language. Bailey Bortolin is correct. The way that our statute was written originally was actually a little bit more restrictive than the federal language. And the initial bill actually put us completely out of compliance with the federal statute, and that's where the fiscal note came from. But with the amended language, we have resubmitted a no fiscal impact. And it's interesting, this bill, it's really just the use of the word appropriate has really changed the bill to allow us to provide support to additional guardianship families.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions for Ms. Roos? All right. I think that is it. I appreciate you coming in, and thank you, Ms. Roos, and thank you, Senator Orenshaw. I appreciate you coming in and explaining that to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for hearing the bill, Chair, and I appreciate your consideration.
And do we have anyone in support here? It does not look like we have any in the audience. And so do we have anyone on the line in support of Senate Bill 158?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support on Senate Bill 158, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support at this time.
Thank you. Do we have any callers in opposition?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 158, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Do we have any callers in the neutral position on Senate Bill 158?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 158, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. So we can close the hearing on Senate Bill 158, and we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 175. And we have Senator Neal here to present that. And before Senator Neal gets started, Mr. Thorley, if you could walk us through the fiscal issue associated with Senate Bill 175.
Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal. The Division of Public and Behavioral Health submitted a fiscal note on the bill as introduced, indicating the bill would require the agency to add a new full-time health program specialist 1 position to support the lupus registry at a cost of approximately $88,000 in FY22 and $112,000 in FY23. I believe Lindsay Kinzinger from DPBH is available to provide testimony on the agency's fiscal note if needed.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Senator Neal, do you want to describe to us briefly what the bill does, and then we will we could try to get the Department of Public and Behavioral Health on the line and talk about the fiscal note.
Okay. So good evening, Senate Finance. SB 175 basically establishes a lupus registry. It aligns us with the national lupus goals that were established in 2015. It would also allow us to leverage any kind of grants that came available for this autoimmune disease. The most recent funding that happened was in 2021, but there's been consistent funding for lupus registries all the way back to 2004. So SB 175 allows the state of Nevada to be a part of not only establishing records and information around lupus patients in the state of Nevada, but it also puts us in a position to leverage ourselves to get additional federal funding.
Thank you. Do any of the committee members have any questions for Senator Neal on what the bill before we go to the Department of Public and Behavioral Health? All right, I do not see any. So, Ms. Kinsinger, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there we go. All right, thank you. We have a fiscal note that was submitted on this bill, and it looks like it is to support a additional full-time program specialist. Could you explain to us the fiscal note and on the bill as it is submitted right now?
Yes, I can. So Lindsay Kinsinger, Manager, Office Public Health Investigations and Epidemiology for the record. So we have requested 1 FTE for Health Program Specialist 1. This person will develop the registry for lupus. They'll educate medical providers about reporting. Reporting for lupus can be quite technical, so they'll be responsible for the education around that. They'll also abstract data from medical records. They'll also develop reports for the public, as well as our program to create interventions, work with advocacy groups, as well as apply for additional grants that might help support this position.
Thank you. And Senator Severs-Gansert, do you have a question?
Thanks, Chair Brooks. I want to know about the availability of grants. Do you think that the grants that are out there would potentially cover the cost of this position in the near future?
I think this person will be able to look into grants available and maybe in the coming years. Right now, we have limited staff and we need staff and data available to apply for grants. So I can't speak to specific ones, but this person would definitely be tasked for collecting that baseline data and then applying for these grants in the future.
Just as a follow-up, do you have anyone else in your office that are looking for grants right now, or do you not have a grants analyst person?
So we have a lot of COVID in our office.
Right.
We're public health investigations and epidemiology, so we're very spread thin right now. So no one could do this work at the moment.
Thank you. And just to follow up, has anybody done that in the past? Because I'm sure that right now it's been overwhelming for the last year, but prior to that, did you have someone who was looking for grants for various different types of diseases and data analytics?
So we work closely with data analytics on all disease states and looking for grants. I cannot say anyone specifically has looked for lupus grants in the past. I could follow up to and make sure of that.
I guess I'm asking.
Future with this position. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I'm guessing, I'm asking more specifically, do you have someone who looks for any type of grant, or could you use a grant analyst? So could a position like this help you get other grants as well?
Yes, but I think they would have to be related to rare disease.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Does the committee have any other questions for Ms. Kinzinger or for Senator Neal? All right, thank you. Well, I do not have any further questions, and so with that, I'll go and see if we have anyone here in support. Thank you, Senator Neal. If we have anyone in support on the phones for Senate Bill 175.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support on Senate Bill 175, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits, 199, please press *6 to unmute. Thank you, caller with the last three digits, 199. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Amber Federizo, AMBERFEDERIZO. I am the current chair of the Nevada Rare Disease Advisory Council and representative of this council this evening. The Rare Disease Advisory Council wishes to testify in support of SB 175. The infrastructure created by this bill is critically needed to support populations in Nevada who have not been well counted nor well researched in terms of prevalence and incidence, and therefore have not received the benefit of such focus, such that at any level of standard of care has been valued or outcomes improved in the state. Without such data, Nevadans with conditions such as lupus and the struggles faced cannot be known. Thank you for your time and consideration in advancing this bill. Thank you.
We are currently in support testimony on Senate Bill 175. If you have joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone in opposition?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 175, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in neutral to Senate Bill 175?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 175, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. So with that, we can bring the hearing on Senate Bill 175 to an end, and we will start our hearing on Senate Bill 210. Thank you, Senator Neal. And we have Senator Dondero Loop, the sponsor of that bill, and she will get up and present that bill. And Mr. Thorley, could you walk us through the fiscal issue associated with Senate Bill 210?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Wayne Thorley for the record, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. The Fiscal Analysis Division requested fiscal notes from various government agencies on the bill as introduced. All the responses indicated no fiscal impact. However, after the bill was amended by the Senate on April 19th, the Department of Education indicated in an email to staff that since the amendment requires the department to adopt regulations, there would be a fiscal impact. I also believe Susie Miller from DCFS is possibly on the line that could comment on any potential fiscal impact to the Division of Child and Family Services.
And Senator Dondero Loop, would you like to explain to us briefly what the bill does as amended, and we will then try to address the fiscal impact issues with NDE and DCFS.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Marilyn Dondero Loop for the record. We know that one of the key things of the educational system is how to best support individual learning on every student. And as a part of continued efforts in dealing with educating students, we're also dealing with mental health needs for our students. And it's important that we examine educational needs of children with more severe cases, including those who are admitted to specialized facilities. So existing law provides that children admitted to a psychiatric hospital or other related facility have the right to education. And so this measure further supports the rights of those children to an education. Ms. Bordelin will follow up with me on that. We were unaware of the fiscal note from Department of Education, but I will also would like Ms. Bordelin to speak to the measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Bailey Bordelin, for the record, representing the Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers. So as Senator Dondero Loop said, this bill deals with a warm handoff when children in foster care are going into facilities, both for short-term and long-term, to ensure that their education is still considered and part of that treatment plan, so that the time that they spend in facilities is not time that stands in isolation or wasted in their greater scheme of their education. And that is something we've been working with the foster care stakeholders to make more and more of a priority, so that education is something that is brought to the table in those foster care conversations so our kids can be more successful. So the billing on that is not changed by this bill whatsoever. When a child is enrolled or disenrolled from a school district and who covers the educational costs is not affected by this bill. This bill just requires communication and coordination, and we're getting the left hand to talk to the right hand to make sure that that care is coordinated, which is why you do not have fiscal notes from those agencies. I will note that the Nevada Department of Education piece requesting regulatory authority for a piece of this bill was something that they requested, that they wanted to do, that they felt that it was important that while we were focusing on foster kids, that all kids who are in these facilities could benefit from these educational plans. And so we did agree at their request to include that piece about having them create some regulations for a uniform process for when children leave these facilities, what their educational plans will be.
Thank you. And before we go to DSFS, I think that I just first want to see if the committee has any questions for Senator Dondero Loop or for Ms. Bordelin. I do not see any, so if I could go to Ms. Honadil, if you could address what the potential fiscal impact is as the bill was amended.
Senator Brooks, just Amy Honadel is an attorney with Legal Aid Center Southern Nevada that's here to help with questions should you have any.
Well, I apologize, Mrs. Honadel. I just assumed that you were the only smiling face on the screen. So do we have anyone from DSFS on another screen somewhere? DCFS, excuse me.
Senator Brooks, if I could, I'm happy to reach back out to Catherine Roos, but when we had discussed this finance hearing, I didn't, as far as I'm aware, they didn't have a fiscal impact that they were concerned about, so Catherine may have left the Zoom.
Well, there she is.
Good evening, Chair Brooks. Catherine Roos, Deputy Administrator for the Division of Child and Family Services. My apologies. I thought my colleague Susie Miller was on the line. I will confirm that DCFS has submitted no fiscal impact for this bill.
Thank you. I am looking for the email right now from NDE, but I think unless any of the committee members have any questions for Ms. Roos? All right. It sounds like we have none, so I appreciate that, and I think that answers all of our questions. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Roos. I apologize, Ms. Honadel. Too many Zoom screens today. And thank you, Senator Dondero Loop. And thank you, Ms. Bordelin. So can we see if we have anybody on the phones in support of Senate Bill 210?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support on Senate Bill 210, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 882. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, good evening. This is Bridget Duffy, Brigid Duffy, Chief of the Juvenile Division for the Clark County District Attorney's Office and representing the Clark County Department of Family Services this evening. Good evening, Chair Brooks and members of the committee. I've been waiting, so I'm going to call in and support, even though it sounds as if our fiscal note has been resolved. So I will save my long-winded or 2 minutes of testimony for when we get over into the assembly. Thank you very much for hearing this bill tonight. It is great policy. Thank you for Legal Aid to bringing it, and Senator Dondero Loop.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 411. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, this is Lindsay Anderson, LINDSAYANDERSON, on behalf of the Washoe County School District. Just calling to reaffirm our support of this legislation and thank Senator Dondero Loop and Ms. Bordelin for working so closely with us to make sure that our students are well served in these residential treatment facilities. Thank you.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 692. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przynski, MaryPierczynFki, representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents. And we are in support of this bill and think it's an important step to make sure that our really needy children are not lost in transition here. So thank you very much, Senator Dondero Loop, for bringing the bill forward. Thank you.
Sir, there are no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have anyone in opposition to Senate Bill 210?
To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 210, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone in neutral to Senate Bill 210?
And thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 210, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. I think that is it. So that will bring our hearing on Senate Bill 210 to an end. And that is the last bill that we had tonight. And that moves us to our next agenda item, and that is going to be introducing BDRs. And you should have on your desk in front of you a list of BDRs that need to be introduced. These are 2 budget implementation bills and 5 one-shot appropriation bills. And so we have 7 bills to introduce tonight. I'll read the BDR numbers. S1052, S1064, 1-1079, S-1121, S1124, S1136, S1138. I would take a motion to introduce these bills.
Move to introduce.
I have a motion from Senator Dennis, a second from Senator Ratty. Any discussion on the motion? No discussion on the motion. All in favor say aye. All against say nay. And the motion passes with all of the members present. And that takes us to our last agenda item, which is public comment. And broadcast, do we have anybody on the line for public comment?
Thank you, Chair. We are currently on public comment. If you have recently joined the call and would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no public comment callers at this time.
All right, thank you. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.